Hey there, I'm Alf, not up a tree today on account of time restraints. Very sad, but had to be done. I went to the Standing for Women rally in Bristol this Sunday just gone, and this video is a report of what I experienced there. It's also going to be an attempt to contrast the slogans and rhetoric of the trans rights activists who turned up to counter-protest the rally with the actual opinions expressed by women who spoke on that day. This second element is, in a sense, me doing the best I can to overcome the dogmatic no debate policy that many trans rights activists stick to rigidly. It often seems that they won't or can't articulate their point of view in any kind of a conversational way where it would be exposed to criticism. So I'm going to place some of the contrasting ideas expressed side by side and let you come to your own conclusions. Firstly, a brief bit of contextual info. If you're not interested in this, you can skip ahead to the next chapter. Standing for Women, who called this rally, are considered by some to be a controversial organisation for taking the stance that women are adult human females. The figurehead, Kellie-Jay Keen, is also the subject of frequent allegations of associating with the wrong sort politically. I'm not going to give that any more air, and I'm not very interested in purity politics in any case. But I mention it in case this is your first time down this particular rabbit hole. It'll be useful in understanding the sorts of slogans that the trans rights activists end up shouting at the rally attendees. The normal format of a Standing for Women rally is pretty simple. The attendees, who tend to be women, gather. The opportunity is given for them to speak. Women go first and men can speak at the end if time allows. This whole thing is live streamed to a wider audience, and that's about it. Standing for Women announced the Bristol rally on the 16th of May. Shortly thereafter, various groups including the Bristol Anarchist Federation, Bristol Defendant Solidarity, Bristol Youth Strike for Climate and XR Youth Bristol began organising a counter-protest. The flyer being distributed by all these accounts originated from a newly created account called Bristol Against Hate. This flyer describes Standing for Women as right-wing agitators, transphobic, anti-trans, and accuses them of a history of racism and homophobia in their events and messaging. Kellie-Jay Keen is further described as being linked to US-based anti-abortionists, to Fox News, and as no feminist. The rally was held on College Green, which looks like this. I turned up at about 12:20 to a handful of rally attendees and a larger bunch of counter-protesters. We initially met here in this circular bit, and then, with the time approaching 1 p.m, Kellie-Jay Keen arrived and the rally moved to this location over here. Things had seemed quite peaceful and relaxed between the two groups until we made this walk over. While there had been talk of the tiny number of police holding the counter-protest at this end of the park, that did not transpire at all, and instead they followed the rally attendees over to here, next to the fountain. It was on this walk over that things started getting kinda weird.
Yeah, this is a wild failure to corral. Oh, we've got one more on here. Hi, are you a moron? Nice to meet you. I'll just go over your head then. Do you want to jump? Want to show me your best jump?
I'm pretty tall, mate, so that's alright.
You are the footage, you know that, don't you? Do you like this flag?
No, mate, it's not your flag.
You don't like rainbow flags?
I love rainbow flags, not when it's been flown by people like you, no.
Why not?
I'm worried for the public safety of... I mean, it's weird. Why are you enjoying taking so many photos of kids? I will say this.
Why are you enjoying coming out harassing women all day?
I'll admit to having been kind of dumbstruck by just how silly of a response this is, and by his previous spontaneous accusation of inappropriately filming kids. He didn't even feel the need to deny that he was out to harass women all day. It reminds me of the sort of rhetoric I often hear from outright MRAs, where they respond to any expression of support for women with, "Stop simping, why is it your concern?" and "She's not gonna..." You mate. I wonder, has he ever heard of solidarity? You know, where we look out for each other even though we're different? Of course, in the moment, I just gave him a...
How do you know I'm not, mate? How do you know I'm not?
And that was the last I heard from him. Seems like this was a popular angle though, as immediately after this I saw a different large bloke TRA screaming this at one of the other men in attendance.
You don't give a shit about women? Yes, I do. You don't give a shit about women? Yes, I do. Racists are not welcome here!
So now we've arrived at the site for the rally and been followed over by the TRA counter-protest. This photo shows the general layout pretty well. Standing for women next to the fountain, with the handrail and water serving as a partial barrier. There was no other segregation between the two groups initially, and various masked TRAs attempted to make their way further forward into the Standing for Women crowd and were asked to leave by Standing for Women stewards. I might be biased because of where I was stood, but the main locus of the TRA counter-protest seemed to be about here, where they had a portable loudspeaker. I think most of them were here at the start, and as things went on they gradually encircled, taking up spots opposite and walking over the shallow part of the fountains to the left side. For the entire time of the rally, the TRAs made a huge amount of noise. Sometimes this took the form of chanting slogans with some kind of message, but a lot of the time it was just incoherent booing, screaming, playing kazoos, using the siren mode on loudhailers, or singing lyrics from pop music. I'm sure you've heard it all before, but you never really heard it down. Their goal was very clearly, first and foremost, to disrupt and cause issues for the Standing for Women rally, with several social media accounts claiming to be present on the day, plainly stating this as the purpose of the action, or taking glee in their perceived success at doing so. From where I stood, I'd say that was partially correct. I chose to remain at the edge of the Standing for Women crowd to assist in holding the space, as did various other people, and being bluntly honest, from this spot, I didn't hear a single word said by any of the speakers that day over the din of the counter-protest. I'd guess the attendees up the front could hear okay, but that the majority will have had some degree of issue making out what was said. Here's a brief clip of what it sounded like back there, and remember, they really did keep this up for the whole 2 hours. The atmosphere created by this counter-protest was hostile and intimidating from the start, with a subgroup of masked men and 1 or 2 women being especially confrontational and up for causing trouble. What I'm now going to show you is, as far as I know, the most serious single incident that happened that day. This begins at about 1 minute into the actual start of the rally, with Kellie-Jay Keen having just taken up the mic and started speaking. Take a moment to notice this small person in the Decker hat. In particular, they have some very interesting and distinctive gloves on that look like this. That'll become relevant in just a minute, so hold that in mind. Now take a moment to notice this person with the LGB Alliance hoodie, "What rights don't you already have" sign, and radical feminist flag. I panned away from that general area, but I'm showing you all the footage in fast forward just to make it clear how those people were positioned before this thing happened. Alright, now look closely. Wait for it. Ooh. Oh dear. Here's ultra slow motion footage taken from the perspective of the lady whose sign was stolen. And here it all is again at real speed. So, unsurprisingly, snatching of signs resulted in the attempt to retrieve those signs, and that was taken as an adequate excuse for a whole load of this lot to pile in and then start shouting, "TERF scum." The police then came over and broke up this thing, whatever it was, whatever you want to call that. Just going to fast forward through this bit for the same sort of reason as before, and then we're going to go over to a multicam section where I've stitched together a few different views.
You're killing kids! You're killing kids! You're kids, yeah? Go home, get in the sea, die out, you're dinosaurs, fossils, yeah? You're gonna die out, you're gonna die out, you're gonna die out, you're gonna die out, you're gonna die out. You are ancient history, you are fossils, you are dinosaurs, you have failed, your ideas have failed. Get in the sea, get in the sea like Colton. Go home, get in the sea, look after your kids.
Oh, that's just lovely. That well-known feminist axiom that women ought to go home and look after their kids. So that was horrible. It's tempting just to put that all in the bin and not deal with it at all, but there was actually a point in there somewhere that can be responded to. The dinosaur men seem to think that generational demographic shifting will replace the ideas upheld by Standing for Women with those of the trans rights activists. I think the women who spoke that day had some thoughts about that exact idea, so let's hear from them.
Hello! I'm really sorry I might burst out crying at any moment. Just it's so overwhelming, and to see everybody, I've wanted to come for so long. I just want to start by saying that they think they've captured my generation, but they haven't. You haven't got us. Slowly, we're waking up. We've grown up with this shit, but we have brains of our own.
These people just don't make any sense, and I'm sick and tired of them. And I want to, basically thank all the amazing women and men, I can see you too, who actually have come out here to support the rights of women and children, and the rights of us to have our own slaves, and the rights of people who are different not to be medicalised for no reason. And people basically, I just want to thank everyone who has common sense, because a lot of people do not have common sense. And can you shut up, please?
The next bit is going to be out of chronological order, looking at the various different TRA messages and chants that were shouted that day, and contrasting them with little clips from the speakers. Two things to say about this. Firstly, I'm only going to show you a small portion of the live stream in this video, and I thoroughly recommend you check it out for yourself in full. The link will be in the description. Secondly, remember I mentioned how much noise the TRA lot made? That was no joke. I'm fairly sure that none of them could have heard anything that was said. This is a constant theme in this conflict. The feminist side are extremely well aware of what the TRAs are claiming and demanding, but the reverse is not true. The simulated exchange of ideas in this segment is not happening in real life due to being actively refused by one side.
You're not walking Bristol! Turns out of Bristol! Turns out of Bristol! Turns go home! Turns go home! Turns go home! Turns go home!
I've lived in this city for 62 years. That's how old I am. I have walked around the streets of this city without any problems, without any intimidation, without any fear for 62 years. If anybody thinks that 5 minutes of madness is going to stop me enjoying and walking around like I'm living in my own city, they've got another thing coming.
Anyway, I am a turf, and this is my turf. I am a Bristol woman. 30 years of teaching biology. Hello! This is the city of my birth, so this turf is home. Racists are not welcome here. Racists are not welcome here. Good night. Consorting with racists. Consorting with racists. Fuck off, fascists! Fuck off, fascists! Fuck off, fascists! Fuck off, fascists!
And if you want to speak about racism, can you please speak about the amount of trans activists who tweet that nonsense and tell me that being a black woman is the same as being a man? Because apparently, if I can be a woman, so can a man. That is absolutely disgusting, and I hate being told that.
This is not a gay rights issue. This is a heterosexual man's issue who's decided he got to the top of the privilege tree and he wants a little piece of the privilege pie. And so he's decided he's oppressed because if he puts on a dress and calls himself queer, all of a sudden he's part of LGB. He's not. He's heterosexual, predominantly a white man. That's why black women in America call trans activism white supremacy.
And I've been called so far a Nazi by a group of little white girls called me a Nazi. They've also called a gay person homophobic. Mr. Reynolds, homophobic. So yeah, this is the side that they are on, and I'd just like to say I'm one of the most liberal people you will ever meet. I smoke weed, I'm going to Stonehenge, I'm one of the most liberal people. I'm not one of these conservatives. So play your music, wear your masks, and like stick up for the government with your fake anarchy, but you will not shut me up, and you will not make me go away or go home, because I'll be here the next one, okay?
See this guy here on the left? He's tall enough that he can see the speaker. I don't want to make too much of this, but since we're on the subject of racism, it is perhaps noteworthy that he did not feel any particular need to pipe down and listen while a woman of colour spoke.
Can you speak up? Sorry, I can't hear you. I want to cut up. We'll piss where we like. We'll piss where we like. Toilets are a human right. We'll piss where we like.
So, okay, this is just a slogan for chanting, and it might not reflect the real understanding of those chanting it, but it totally misses the point. Yes, we should all have the right to adequate toilet facilities, but that doesn't mean they have to be mixed sex. In fact, many women are of the opinion that their human right to bodily privacy is not met by mixed sex facilities. Here's Kellie-Jay putting it directly.
Each and every one of you men who calls themselves a woman or non-binary, you are not welcome in women-only spaces. You genuinely make vulnerable women afraid.
The reason I'm here is two reasons, to be honest. One, because I'm a woman. I'm an adult human female. So I only have my own rights and those of my daughter and my mom and my sisters. These are people that matter to me, so that is why I'm here. And as a person, as a woman who's been through child sexual abuse, I don't want to make it any easier for men to get into my spaces or my daughter's spaces to abuse them.
In the 90s, there was a saying for women called "no means no." And we mean no. We don't want you in our toilets. We don't want you in our changing rooms. We don't want you anywhere near us when we're in the nip. Thanks. So, no means no. No means no. No means no. No means no.
Woman's not an essence a man can feel. We're gore and gristle and raw and real, teeth and sinew and womb, blood, breast, bone, an autonomous being with a mind of our own, and our mind's not your mind. Our brain's not your brain, and your crime's not our crime.
In this moment, Mr. Menno, a well-known gender-critical gay man, had an exchange with some of the TRAs. This resulted in them taking up this LGB with the T chant by way of reply. Here's some of Menno's thoughts.
One of them earlier said to me that I'm a sellout. Because as a gay man, proudly wearing the rainbow, I know some of us have issues with the rainbow, and these are understandable, but I'm proud to stand here as a gay man, as a male homosexual, to say lesbians don't have penises, leave them alone. There's at least 7 guys I know now who are regretting what they've done and missing their penises. They need to know that when they face that loss, that as gay men we are there for them and that they haven't lost their home with us.
Another attendee also had this to say.
Do you think that bullying lesbians and gays into heterosexual relationships, basically rape and conversion therapy, is making you a good person? Do you?
Now we're on to what is probably the bitterest dispute between these two groups. They have polar opposite views on the transitioning of children. The feminist camp find this practice to be a form of child abuse, whereas the TRA camp find any barriers to this practice to likewise be child abuse, and they aren't shy about saying so.
Advocate child abuse, you sick fuck!
We don't want your cis kids to be trans, we want your trans kids to survive!
No child left behind! No child left behind! No child left behind!
I, as a child, believed that I should have been born a boy. If children are allowed to choose what they can be, I should be wearing a loincloth and swinging through those trees because I wanted to be fucking Tarzan. Children do not have the mental capacity to make such choices. And quite frankly, nobody under 25 does either.
David and his brother, his twin brother, were going to weekly sessions with John Money. And do you know what John Money done? My lovely best mates over there. He was basically raping them. He had what was called, and when I looked this up, he says it was sex rehearsal for a healthy adult sex life. He took pictures, inspected their genitals, and you know what? Those poor lads, they killed themselves.
I am really, really angry at trans activists for another personal reason of mine, and that is that because I am on the autism spectrum. And as we all know now, that autistic people are overrepresented in those referred to gender clinics. So all of you trans activists are supporting the sterilisation of autistic people. You people are disgusting. I will never forgive you for what you have done. I will never forgive you for supporting the sterilisation of people like me. Why can you not just accept that we're different and we don't need to change our bodies to please you?
I mean, you never expect to meet someone who's been sterilised against their will, but I once met a woman in her late 90s who'd been sterilised for an ideology. Basically, she was born blind in America in the 30s, and they decided that she shouldn't have children. And in her 90s, the pain of that was really still 80 years. She was sterilised at 16. They don't know what they're doing to these children, and it's got to stop.
Well, that's all pretty intractable and serious. Let's cool off a little bit by taking a look at the core catechism of trans activism. These phrases are the central pillar of the gender identity-based belief system of the TRAs. By contrast, radical feminists and gender-critical feminists consider them to be nothing but self-circular, thought-terminating cliches. Here they are.
Trans women are women!
I can't believe there are people here pretending that they don't know what a woman is. And all of them are unironically branding their sexist flags and as if they don't know what they're holding. Literally, the clue is in the flag. They're literally holding flags that have blue for boys, pink for girls, and they think that's a good thing to be branding around.
We're clear! We will not fail! We're clear! We will not fail!
And you deliberately all followed us across to drown us out. Oh, you actually have, you followed us.
Oh, look at this. What a heartwarming little moment. We love to see it.
Why are you so fucking old? Why are you so fucking old?
These old women are putting up. They've been putting in.
Sorry. Let's keep a straight face. Nobody would touch any of you with a barge pole. You have nothing to do with your sad, depressing life as a 50-year-old woman. Flatterer. Congratulations for being an ignorant whore. There is no point in trying to argue with a 90-year-old who can't comprehend basic science. You talk shit about trans women at your prehistoric age. We will live and thrive better than you will. And looks like Granny forgot her meds. To be fair, he's probably right.
I want one of you to come here and tell me what you want exactly. What is it that you want? What is your goal?
No, you don't. If you actually wanted to know what the women at the rally wanted, then you'd have spent those 2 hours listening and understanding rather than doing everything humanly possible to drown them out and intimidate them.
I can tell you our goal is to be able to walk down the street and not be hate crime. Walk down the street and not be hate crime.
Walking down the street without being hate crimed? What a lovely idea. Funnily enough, the Standing for Women rally is about to leave to walk down the street to a nearby pub, intending to socialise and relax. Let's see if we can get there without being hate crimed.
It'd be interesting to hear what the police talk about.
Watch this guy in the grey jumper. He's about to get shoved by the blonde TRA.
Fuck off, fascists! Fuck off, fascists! Fuck off, fascists! Fascists! Fuck off, fascists! Who protects the fascists? Who protects the fascists? Police protect the fascists! Who protects the fascists? Police protect the fascists! You love every bit of this! Look at that smile! You love every bit of this! You love the culture! Police protect the fascists! You're a fucking grifter! You're a fucking Trans lives matter! You can sort with fascists to make money and you sterilise them to get rid of coal snakes or get rid of you!
This is a reference to a 2020 Black Lives Matter protest that pulled down a statue of Edward Colston, a 17th century slave trader, before dragging it through the streets and pushing it into the harbour. All well and good in my opinion. The only sad thing is, it ought to have been removed decades earlier by the council. I'm not sure if this TRA thinks that everyone on Team Turf is therefore also on Team Colston? And if that were true, this would be antagonistic. No idea. It could be that, or perhaps he wants to bring back a modernised witch drowning practice for these disobedient female women.
Oh, well, because you studied theology. You studied theology. Oh, well done. You're a right-wing evangelical freak. Stop advocating feminism. Fuck you, fascists! Fuck you, fascists! Fuck you, fascists! Fuck you, fascists! Fuck you,
Watch this person in black with the white logo t-shirt. They dart in towards Kellie-Jay, getting very close to the lady in blue in the process, and slap a sticker onto the sign being carried by another woman to the left. This all happens very fast. It's fortunate that landing a sticker was the intention, but what if this had been misread as an attempt to land a punch? This is a tin of fruit cider, which might explain a thing or two. Elsewhere, it was claimed that this person is 15.
Disgusting harassment from these trans rights activists.
Everyone's allowed to walk where they want to go, aren't they?
With shouting abuse at someone. This is an arrestable offence.
Child abuse, you dirty shit! Child abuser! Trans rights are human rights! 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 Alerta! Alerta! Anti-fascist! Bastard! Get a bastard!
Shout us out there, guys.
You fucking fascist! You're fucking you scumbag Nazi fascist! You advocate child abuse, you sick fuck!
Not boring, is it?
A small group run up to the front now in what I think was a half-hearted attempt to block the path forward where the handrail ends. The police are quite rightly having none of it, but it puts the question in my mind, what is the mentality of a person or group who will scream F off at you while preventing you from leaving?
Are you on keep proposing? Yeah, Kellie-Jay. Yeah, fair play.
Oi, object!
Oh, God, Bing, you right there? Sorry? You are. Things to believe. Yeah, it's a little odd and alarming to see being followed down the street, and then the ongoing clusterfuck of it.
She's getting rich off of you lot, yeah? All about the money. All about that money. Just admit it. You're in it, $6. Yeah, it's that dollar bill, y'all. You'll sell any of you guys. You're right. Flogging you. Don't worry when you
Has Bristol ever seen the likes of this? Intimidation.
Them. This one specifically.
What the fuck was I
Film and keep an eye. Yeah, this one.
Hey, you report to everyone here! Go,
Get out of Bristol. Stop picking on the kids, not bullying them.
Yeah, these old women are pushing us. They've been pushing kids. This woman has been pushing kids.
Every single time we'll be here.
Trans rights are human rights. Trans women are women. Trans men are men. Trans rights are human rights.
Trans rights are human rights.
Trans rights are human rights. Trans rights are human rights. Trans rights are human rights. Trans rights are human rights.
Alerta! Alerta! Antifascista! Alerta! Alerta! Antifascista! Alerta! Alerta! Antifascista! No justice! No peace!
I can't believe this is allowed. So much intimidation to women. Why are they not being arrested? Intimidating women. Yeah, I wish they would.
Have you asked them what's a woman? Have you asked them?
No point in engaging. They already hate women, so nothing we say will make a difference.
Take a moment to notice this person with the reddish hair, light blue jeans and tan jacket. It's the same person who has very consistently been following this particular attendee, shouting slogans in her face and at one point giving out ageist abuse. A telling interaction between the two is about to occur. Did you clock that? So this person steps towards and bumps into the woman in blue, who is seen not to react, then turns and shouts at this woman, accusing her of unwanted touching. Next, this person turns to the left to this group of masked men to complain to them that, and she puts it best, this is disgusting. At this point, you've already followed this crowd for going on 2.5 hours and halfway across town, all the while screaming and shouting abuse at them. Now, you're very obviously trying to bait this lady in blue into a fight, and you're hoping to drag these masked up blokes into it. I can't really judge if this is just cynical manipulation with the aim of provoking violence, or if there's an actual sincere derangement going on in this young person's mind. Either which way, this movement would do very well to get some distance from this person. Let's see if we can get to this pub without too much more drama, shall we?
It's grown up. I mean, the police are literally doing nothing.
Stop doing that!
So now we've arrived at the pub and this goes kinda okay. As soon as the TRAs realise what's happening, there is a rush for the door, but the police block it and keep them out while letting rally attendees pass.
Hey, come on. Don't be silly.
Yeah, she's already attacked me.
Get the fuck away! Fucking
Get back!
No, I'm coming there. She's with us. Where's the pink hair?
Then the TRAs realise there is another entrance on the other side, and most of them run around to try to gain entry that way, but are beaten to it by the police, who block that entrance too and close the gates.
Oh, did you hear that? They're running around the back.
Oh!
Say it again.
Go!
The bar staff, who were mostly young women, were taken aback to have a bunch of police stomping through their bar and an angry mob outside. The mob had also taken to social media to encourage vexatious phone calls be made to them. Between one thing and another, they took the decision to close after we'd had one drink. That was annoying, but understandable in the circumstances, and I offer my sympathies to the staff, who shouldn't have had to put up with any of this. So that was it for the day. I know I said I wasn't going up a tree for this one, but after spending all week reliving it to put the video together, it's kind of set me on edge a bit, and this is my safe space, so here we are. Honestly, on the actual day while all this was going on, I wasn't particularly fazed by it, and they all seemed like much more bark than bite to me, and I've been on a fair share of rowdy demos, so I was kind of just like, you know, whatever. But then afterwards, like going through all the footage and live streams, I realised there was a serious nastiness happening that I hadn't understood at the time. If watching this video made you angry, or at least made you feel something, here's what I'm going to suggest you could do about that. First of all, if your anger was against these masked trans activists, then one thing you could do that would be really helpful would be come to a Standing for Women rally if you possibly can. Be wise to these provocative bullshit strategies. Hold the space peacefully, do not bring or react with violence, and above all, let women speak. Also, film everything. If your anger is still directed at Standing for Women and their ideas after what you've just watched, then okay. You have the right to be heard, and you should also come down to the next rally, but you do not have the right to silence others, and you could at a minimum acknowledge that the violence, provocation and harassment are not helping your side of the argument. Be more like this guy.
Hey! Stop!
Be aware of the bad actors in your movement who talk the talk, but whose actions reveal them as just basic male supremacists out for a fight, using your cherished ideals as a handy cover story. And lastly, maybe you're one of those masked trans activists and you're hate watching this video. In which case, hello, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Here's the thing, right? My politics have always been left to far left. I've been inside quite a few squats, I've put on free parties, I've lived on protest camps, and I've been arrested 3 times doing environmental activism. I was born in Bristol and I grew up nearby, so chances are we probably know some of the same people. Understand this, I don't hate you. I think you've been badly misled and you've fallen for some daft ideas, and this whole mess is the left eating itself as a result. It needs to stop, And the only way it's going to stop is when the crap divisive ideas are set aside. Maybe I'm wrong about that and it's my ideas that are crap, and if that's the case, we're going to find that out by using our words, not our fists. No debate is over. Silencing? It's not going to work. I'll end this video now, in the only way I possibly could, by giving one more opportunity to let women speak.
Hi. I'm only 12 and I get this more than other people. And I just wanted to ask, why are they being so angry at women uniting? Like, it's a normal thing, get over it.